Welcome to sunny South Florida, where ocean breezes and swaying palm trees provide the setting as we bring down the curtain on yet another NASCAR Sprint Cup season here at Homestead Miami Speedway. Champions are those that respond to pressure and rise to the challenge, and there is no better example of that than what transpired in the Phoenix desert just 1 week ago.
Running this well the last couple of weeks, has maybe made the guys that were chasing a little more nervous, but it doesn't matter how well you're in Texas. That will not make you run better at Phoenix. You have to go do the job.
Hi, bud. Be smooth, be smart here.
All right, guys, let's do it.
Just too loose, Bob. And 4, buddy. We'll fix you up. Clear one, only one, only one. Go get it together. Boys, you can do better than that. 14 flat is not good.
Lap times if you got him.
The leader ran a 40, and he's not in traffic. They're not going anywhere, buddy.
You made me happy with that lap. That's good. That's right on pace with the real fast guys right now. You're doing awesome. Leaving all those guys behind, buddy.
10 to go. 10 laps to go.
And Jimmie Johnson wins for the 7th time this year.
Keep our heads up. Let's work hard. Never know what'll happen next week.
Jimmie Johnson dominated the weekend from pole day to race day to pick up his 40th career NASCAR Sprint Cup victory. And now with just one race remaining, the margin is a much more comfortable 141 points between him and Carl Edwards, which means that Jimmie can finish 36th or better and make history here at Homestead again by winning it just like he has done the past 2 years in a row. We welcome you live to our NASCAR Sprint Cup Series coverage of pole qualifying from Homestead Miami Speedway. 46 cars lined up and ready to go out and run 2 consecutive laps here on the 1.5 miles. And here's the practice session from the morning. We're going to find out very quickly who's got the time to beat, because Ryan Newman and Juan Pablo Montoya are the first 2 cars to go out. Take a look at Jimmie Johnson and Carl Edwards, back 6th and 7th, our 2 championship points contenders. Hello, everyone. I'm Jerry Punch, along with Dale Jarrett and Andy Petrie. Glad to have you with us. And, guys, last weekend, Jimmie Johnson sort of set the mark by going out and putting his Chevy on the pole at Phoenix. Psychologically, how important is it for Carl Edwards to win the pole or have someone besides Jimmie Johnson win the pole here today?
Well, Carl Edwards would like to make sure that all he sees of Jimmie Johnson is in his rearview mirror all day on Sunday, because that's what's going to be important, that in case something should happen to the 48 car during that race, they have to be there to take advantage of that, and that means running up front, leading as many laps as they possibly can. So a good starting position is of utmost importance to those guys.
And we've seen how that 48 team rolls. They like to win races, and that's their best shot to win, is to get that pole, get a good pit position. They want to win this championship. Yeah, that's the big prize, but they want to leave here as a race winner too. They want to be the only ones celebrating down here on Sunday night.
Well, for more on our championship contenders, let's check in down in the pits with Mike Massaro.
Well, Doc, Jimmie Johnson may have a 141-point advantage, but he says there is still a little bit of pressure, and that he'll worry about every little change they make to this car between now and Sunday. His objective, get as many points as he possibly can here this weekend. Conversely, you've got Carl Edwards. For him to have any shot at winning this title, he not only needs to win this race, he really needs to dominate this race, and starting on the pole would be a very good beginning to his weekend. As far as their chances, you mentioned the speed chart, Doc. They're 6th and 7th on the speed chart. Jimmie Johnson, though, starting on the pole has been the magic starting position for him this year. Remember, he's won 5 races from that #1 starting position, and he did win the pole here a year ago. Shannon?
Mike, there are 46 drivers that are attempting to qualify for Sunday's race. That means 3 drivers will go home. And while Jimmie Johnson and Carl Edwards are thinking about the championship, for other drivers, they're just thinking about getting into that top 35 in the owner's points. Obviously, we know it's very important going into Daytona at the start of the season to be in the top 35. Now, the very last driver to qualify today will be Brian Vickers. Brian Vickers usually drives the 83 car for Red Bull Racing, but this weekend Scott Speed will be in the 83, Brian Vickers will be in the 84. They have switched rides for this weekend, and primarily that's because the 84 car is 17 points outside the top 35. So they've turned to the veteran of the two, of course Brian Vickers, to not only qualify that car into the race, but to try to get it into the top 35 moving into Daytona. Doc?
Thank you, Shannon. Here are the 11 drivers that must get in on time and speed. They'll be competing, and remember, 3 of these will not make it. The fastest of these in practice was the 77 car of Sam Hornish. Of course, the 13th overall A.J. Allmendinger also up there in 11th spot. Who will be on the pole? Who will make it in the field? We'll find out when we come back.
Oh, look, he went to Jared.
Excuse me?
May I see it?
Can I just get directions, please?
I'm afraid I can't do that.
Heart's Desire Jewelry at Jared, featuring ideal cut diamonds.
Oh, Dave, you shouldn't have.
Jared, the Galleria of Jewelry.
Living notoriously well with Jose Cuervo means knowing how to negotiate. 1, be confident.
Name? Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds. That's right.
2, come prepared.
You're not Burt Reynolds.
Oh, really? 3, have a backup plan.
Did you make this?
4, build on your success.
Hi, Vance.
Ladies, enjoy and live notoriously well, responsibly.
Here, and I'm just celebrating.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Series qualifying is brought to you by Jared, the Galleria of Jewelry, with 5 times the selection of ordinary jewelry stores. Very busy schedule of coverage for the weekend here from Motorsports. NASCAR Sprint Cup Happy Hour coming your way back here tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, followed by the season finale for the NASCAR Nationwide Series, the Ford 300. Carl Edwards, Clint Boyer in a tight battle for the championship there. Automobile Club of Southern California NHRA qualifying at 11 Eastern Time. Then on Sunday morning, we kick off our championship Sprint Cup Day coverage with NASCAR now at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Flag-to-flag coverage, 3 o'clock Eastern Time on ABC, beginning with NASCAR Countdown. And we'll Automobile Club of Southern California NHRA Final to wrap up the evening at 7 Eastern Time on Sunday night. A couple of teammates, Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, together they have 6 championships. Jimmy hopes to make it 7 titles when this weekend is done. Shannon.
Down here with Jimmy Johnson, who is just walking around his car, just talking to Jeff Gordon. So you guys came out here, you had a plan coming into here today. 6th fastest in practice. Do you guys have the car that can put it on the pole here today?
I think we're close. We've been real good. Juan ran a great lap in practice, and I felt like I made a mistake that cost me a little bit of time that had us in 6th. So I feel good. I'm not sure what this draw is going to do for us, and the fast guys are all going early, or the guys that are fastest in practice, so we'll know what we have early and then take it from there, but I think we'll have a good start spot.
Jimmy, we were able to follow you after the Texas race. Our cameras followed you. A little bit of stress after that Texas race. Of course, you went out, had a tremendous week last week. What has this week been like for you leading up to this weekend's race?
It hasn't been as stressful, but I've been super busy. Yesterday was just a bear of a day for me. I had a ton of stuff going on, and was eager to get to bed last night. I needed it. I can use another night's sleep as well. So, it's an exciting time, a lot of neat opportunities. But at the same time, I've got to get some rest and make sure I'm ready for this race on Sunday, and I'll be doing that moving forward from here on out. But a lot less stress, which is nice. But I'm sure that stress will all show up Sunday morning like a ton of bricks when it's time to get in the car and get to work.
All right, getting in the car, get to work. We're going to let Jimmy go and qualify this 48 car. Doc?
Can he do what he did a year ago? He put that car on the pole when he was in the championship hunt and led the very first lap of the race. Here's where the pole sitters have finished over the years at Homestead, Miami. Twice this race has been won from the pole. Bill Elliott and Kurt Busch in 01 and 02. Jimmy finished 7th last year from the pole, which was plenty for him to be able to win the title by 77 points over Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, I think that shows right there that you have a fast race car down here, it means good things for you. And that goes a lot of places, but a lot of times you see those guys that qualify up there that can't really get the finishes to go.
Well, a lot of times at certain racetracks, it takes such a totally different setup to qualify fast as it does to race fast. And sometimes when you qualify fast on those tracks, it doesn't show up on Sunday.
The 3 fastest cars in practice this morning were all Dodges. Juan Pablo Montoya was quickest, and the Ganassi Sabatos Dodge, and the 2 Penske Dodges of Kurt Busch, and the guy rolling right now, the Rocket Man, Ryan Newman. And this has to be attributed, I guess, to the new configuration Dodge engine, which Kurt Busch said was so effective in him finishing 2nd last week at Phoenix.
Another place a good engine shows up is qualifying. That's where it shows up first, when the tires are the best, and these cars were fast in practice. We're going to get an early look now at how the racetrack is and the condition that it's in.
Yeah, I think a lot of times they would be really nervous about this, but Nationwide cars just finished about an hour and 45-minute practice, and so there have been cars. It's not like the racetrack's just been sitting here this entire time.
One thing that is different is we had sun in 1 and 2 and kind of shade in 3 and 4 during practice. But as you see in turn 1, there's shade over there now. Wow. Ryan Newman real high through that corner, just getting up to speed.
So a lot of these guys running higher, but I'm not sure he meant to get quite that.
Looked like a lot of dirt.
Yeah.
Ryan Newman has already won 1 pole this year. That was at Phoenix back in the spring.
It's been interesting to watch these guys. Now, this is a progressive banking, so they're running up there where they have the most banking, and that seems to be working well for these guys, or it was in practice.
You can see Ryan Newman committed to that real high line, but I'm not sure now about the first cars that are going out trying to run this high line, because those Nationwide Series cars are not running quite that high, and they may have put a little bit of dust and speedy dry in that extreme high line.
Yeah, that's about 0.4 of a second slower than what Ryan ran in practice.
Ran a 31.63 in practice to be the second fastest car here.
I think this looks like a better lap. I don't think we'll see a lot of guys running faster on the second lap, but this is about a 1/10.5 quicker, down to a 31.90, but about 2.5 tenths off of what he ran in practice.
Ryan Newman finishing up. Let's check in with Shannon, who's caught up with Marcus Ambrose.
Someone we always love to catch up with is Marcos Ambrose, pulling double duty here this weekend. Let's talk about being in the top 35, solidly in the top 35. Well, 17 points ahead of 36, so you do not have to qualify on time. What's that like for you, knowing you're in the show?
Well, it's a strange feeling right now, because normally my blood's pumping and my adrenaline's racing, just getting ready to go. But yeah, we've had a tough day so far, so I'm looking forward to bouncing back. We're in the top 35. It's a great thing for us to be. Feel like we're going to have a great race car. We've just got to get a lap down now and get a good starting spot.
Marcos Ambrose running both series, and he's currently 10th in the nationwide standing, so he will be going to the banquet in Orlando.
Here is the guy we talked about who was quickest in practice this morning, Juan Pablo Montoya, who made his debut in NASCAR Sprint Cup competition at this very racetrack in November of 2006.
These guys are running way up the racetrack. Seems like the track was a little cleaner right there for Juan Montoya than it was for Ryan Newman. You saw that speedy dry just flying out from under that 12 car.
Yeah. And he has got a much better lap going than Newman had, way up inside of Newman's time and speed.
Yeah, that first car out's never a good thing. I don't think there's anywhere that it's a good thing. Maybe, I mean, only place he comes close is Indianapolis when you qualify in the morning, but.
Well, he's just going to shut it down after the first lap.
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot of that.
That's not it.
Most of what we saw in practice were these guys getting their fastest lap on that first lap. But in Ryan Newman's case, I think that he just got so high down in turns 1 and 2, and that's why he ran quicker on the second.
Yeah, that was not as quick as he ran in the morning practice, but quick enough to be the fastest thus far.
Here's only about a 1/10.5 off of what he was, so it's a lot closer to what it was. And I think we have a lot more temperature in the racetrack than what they saw during practice session, too.
Jeff Gordon going out. He's one of 7 drivers in the field that have run all 9 races at Homestead Miami Speedway in NASCAR Sprint Cup competition. The only 2 that have run them all that aren't competing here this weekend are Mark Martin and Dale Jarrett. And in 9 trips here, Jeff has yet to win a pole or a race. One of only 2 tracks in his career where he has not gone to victory lane.
And he's winless coming into this race. This is going to be a difficult proposition for Jeff and his team to try to finish this year out with a win, which they desperately need to do. See, he's in the green coming off of turn 2 just for a moment.
Yeah, a lot different line for Jeff Gordon, though. He didn't enter the corner nearly as high as what the first 2 competitors did with Ryan Newman and Juan Pablo, but this is what Jeff feels like is his best shot with his race car.
You can see there down the backstretch where that high line really paid off for Juan Pablo Montoya.
Don't have it today.
Sounds a little disappointed. He will be disappointed with that. It's a 32.07.
Best he had ever qualified here was 5th twice, and he'll be hard-pressed to be in the top 10 here when this session is done today. Qualifying continuing from Homestead, Miami, the 07 car. Clint Boyer out to see if he can get his car in the top 5. 3 cars that have gone so far, Montoya, Newman, and Jeff Gordon. Clint Boyer said, I'd like to be able to get my car to start in the top 5 this weekend and be close to the front so I can hang up there and try to turn my luck around a little bit. He's never had very much luck here in 2 visits to Homestead, Miami.
You can see where the different lines are showing up on our tracker. With that low line, they run quicker through the corner, but they pay the price down the straightaway. They're not carrying that momentum. You see that also with Clint Boyer.
Pretty good lap by Clint, 31.89. That's second quick right now. He's going to attempt this second lap.
Trying a little different line there.
so far it's a little bit slower. So it's just how good right here that Montoya got off of turn 2 and carried that speed down the backstretch. A little close to the wall there off of turn 4 for Clint.
It's going to be about a 10th and a half slower the second lap.
So Boyer will be second of the 4 cars that have gone out. It is Montoya, Boyer, Newman, and Jeff Gordon. Let's go down and visit with Ryan Newman. Mike?
Who is right now, Doc, third on the speed chart, if you will. Looked like you dropped off a little bit from practice. What happened?
My first lap, 1 and 2, the car just never hooked up and got up pretty high and lost a good bit of speed there. And ran a second one. Never ran a second one the entire practice session. Just knew that my first lap wasn't that good. And we meant to scuff our tires and ran out of time. And that probably would have helped a little bit. But just not the best lap. Picked the worst time of the day, best time of the day for the worst lap.
Still, obviously, got a shot at doing something I know you want to do and bookend the season, winning the Daytona 500, also winning the season finale. What is this weekend like for you, knowing this will be your last ride with Penske?
It's mixed emotions, no doubt. It's been a great run. We've done a lot of great things, and at the same time, I look forward to moving on and doing more great things. And I'm very grateful for what I've done and the relationships and the friendships that I've made and things that we've accomplished together. But it's time for me to move on and do something different.
And Ryan Newman would certainly like to go out with a very big bang. Doc?
Indeed he would, before going to drive Chevys next year for the Stewart-Haas team. Dale Earnhardt Jr., who was in the top 10 in practice. Let's see where he could put this Chevy in qualifying. Second right now.
A good lap by Junior there. He chose that low line. His choice, you can see that it was down towards the end of the backstretch is where he lost some time to Montoya.
Yeah, almost everywhere else on the racetrack, he was faster than Montoya. Just that momentum off turn 2 has been the difference so far.
Trying to run his second lap, going to be slower this time by, but a great first lap by Dale Earnhardt Jr. 31.81, which puts him second of the 5 cars that have gone thus far.
He lost a full half a second on that second lap. Looks like these tires are really good for just one good lap. We heard Ryan Newman say he did run a second and did run faster, but just because the first lap was so far off.
Scheduled up next would be Kurt Busch in the 2 car. And we talked about how good he was in the practice session, 3rd overall this morning.
Yeah, well, he's got a cloud over the racetrack right now, too. This could be a big thing in his favor. Got a fast car, and he's got a cloud over the racetrack, kind of cooling things off. Shannon?
I mean, you can't deny the fact that this guy right here, Carl Edwards, has added a lot of excitement to this year's chase. We've got 1 race left. Now, obviously, Roush Fenway has a great record here. You've won on the last 2.5 miles. How much more confidence does that give you, knowing what you have to do, 141 points, coming in here to this weekend's race?
Well, it gives us as much confidence as we can have, you know. We have to go do what we've been doing or trying to do for the last 9 weeks. That's just go win races. And, you know, Jimmy's in a situation where, you know, he doesn't have to do that. He just has to hope that nothing bad happens. But we have to be there, be able to pounce and take advantage if something does. And it's kind of a fun way to go race, really. I mean, got nothing to lose. We can just let it hang out. And I couldn't pick a better track than this Homestead track. It seems to be a good one for us.
Now, how are the track conditions right now? Just heard that the 2 car scraped the wall a little bit on his qualifying run. Can you just describe what it's like out there? It's very hot out here today.
Yeah, it's nice and hot and slick, and maybe we'll get lucky and get one of these clouds. But, you know, really, I think that the way this track runs, you can run right by the fence, right by the line. You know, if we don't get the pole, you know, which would be great, it's still going to be all right whether we finish, you know, we start 20th, 30th. We can pass here is what I'm trying to say. And it'll be good Sunday.
All right, and talking about the temperatures, what you guys might not know is the fact that Carl Edwards does not run a cooling system in his car. What do you guys think about that up there? I know you guys have the air condition on in that booth right now.
We do, Shannon. And Carl Edwards is pretty tough. I'm surprised he doesn't run any kind of an air conditioning system. I guess he just has air going through his helmet.
Let's see how tough this Dodge is of the 2 of Kurt Busch, where he just scraped the wall in his first lap of qualifying.
It looked like he was just trying that same line that we saw Montoya run, and it just got a little too high.
A little too much speed for the tires to hold right there in the center of the corner.
NASCAR is going to have a temporary halt to qualify so they can go out and check the racetrack, make sure there's not any debris or anything came off the car or the wall. And while they take a break before Jimmy Johnson rolls, we'll take it with him and come back and see if our points leader can put it on the pole. Jimmy Johnson set to be the next car to roll to qualify at Homestead Miami Speedway. Chasing history, chasing another win, and chasing his third consecutive NASCAR Sprint Cup championship. A year ago, he came here with an 86-point lead, put his Chevy on the pole, led the first lap, and cruised to a title. Can he do it again, guys?
I don't know, but he's getting this thing up to speed in a hurry. He was going up through the gears. You can see him moving the car around here.
That thing looked like a pro stock dragster coming off the line. You can see he's going at this thing as hard as he can go, doing everything he can.
He's got to beat a 31.681. That's what Juan Pablo Montoya has put up right now as the quickest time.
Whoa, kind of loose right there.
A little out of shape. That's going to hurt him getting up to speed right here.
Just hear him say loose right there. He was running a little different line here too, or he was in practice. And he's going to be a little more conservative if that car is that loose. That's the worst thing that could happen. Although he made a good corner there, see how it translates.
If it'll hold up down the backstretch, that's the problem we've seen. There's Montoya watching this lap. He knows this is one of the guys he has to beat if he can't get by this car.
He's out a little early here, but he's going to pick the gas up quick. It's going to be not going to quite get there, but it's going to be close.
Coming back out of turn 4 in the throttle, but going to lose it coming up off the corner. First time by third.
Oh, back to fifth.
Keep digging, come on.
Or Chad, he's coaching his driver. Keep digging. That's not good enough. He's trying to get a better lap here.
Be hard pressed to do that. You just run out of grip with the tires. Not a lot good can come from this in trying to do that, especially with a loose race car.
I want to rethink that this car gets sideways coming out of 4 here.
Jimmy can handle it here. I think he knows that he'll just get all he can. And he knows he did everything he can do. I mean, we saw that. He did all he could do to try to make this qualifying lap as fast as possible.
5th overall in line, and Juan Pablo Montoya still atop the charts. Mike.
And he was worried a little bit about the cloud cover that was coming in. What do you think was going to happen?
The truck is just going to get faster. You know, I was the second car out. It's duty free Dodge. It's amazing. It's every time we go to a mile and a half, our cars run so strong, so it's exciting.
I know you did the tire test here. How much of a benefit did you get from that?
To tell you the truth, we came here, did the tire test. We didn't change the car at all. It was good off the bat. And I think it's the same car. I'm not even sure. I don't ask. I just drive them.
An interesting week, to say the least, for your organization. What do you see as the biggest benefit of this merger that's going on between Ganassi and DEI for you?
I'll tell you the truth, it's going to be great because I think there's a lot of they can offer to us, and I think there's a lot we can offer to them as well. You know, I think both sides are going to be winning, so I'm excited.
By the way, the sun's coming back out. You think your lap's going to hold up for the pole?
I'll be surprised if it does, but, you know, the bright side, we're going to start up there. You know, I screwed so many times this year. It's finally nice to get a decent lap out.
Believe me, Doc, if he won the pole, it'd be very popular here in South Florida.
Indeed it would be, but he's got to hang on. Here comes Tony Stewart, his last ride in the Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota. Can he give him something to shower about?
Just going to miss. That was so close. Man. Just about 100th of a second. He missed it by just a little more.
10 years, 33 wins, 2 championships, and Tony Stewart said, I want to give him the one last shot at us going to victory lane, and he gave it there in qualifying. Sure did.
It's a decent lap going here on the second one, but he's going to see as the grip goes away, he's falling off here.
If you don't just really mess up on the first lap or have a problem, you're not going to run faster on the second. I think that's what these guys are seeing now.
Well, Tony won't be on the pole, but he might be able to see the flag pretty closely when they start this race on Sunday. So another bullet dodged by Juan Pablo Montoya, who was making his 73rd career start, but has yet to get a pole here in NASCAR Sprint Cup. Let's go down to Shannon.
Well, I don't know if you know this, Doc, but this is the first time, this season is the first time in 3 years that there has not been a first-time winner. And, of course, David Reagan has really come on strong. Roush Fenway, great at this track. Can you get your win here this weekend?
Oh, absolutely. Our AAA Ford's going to be fast. We were pretty decent today in our first practice session. So, you know, it'll be important to get a good solid lap in, and we finished in the top 10 this race a year ago. So if I can't win the race, it'd be great for one of our Roush Fenway teammates to win. But certainly, it's a good track that I feel like we can win one.
Now, there's a lot of talk about testing today. Homestead is not a track that we test for. How important is it for you to get into the Nationwide car just to get some practice at this track that you've only had one start at?
Well, not testing here, but also just one race per year. A lot of these tracks we go to for 2 times, and so we can go off information from last year or the previous race. So, you know, it's going to be important to run the Nationwide car, our discount tire Ford, to see where, you know, the track changes, where the grip's at throughout the race. So, you know, that's going to be, I think, an advantage that we have, and hopefully we can put it to some good use on Sunday.
And the last 7 races, David Reagan, his worst finish in the last 7 races, 13th. Pretty good for this young driver.
Indeed, Shannon. He set on the pole here for the Nationwide race a year ago. Let's see, Elliott Sadler, not a bad effort for Elliott in his Dodge, 4th overall.
Yeah, good lap. You can see he had a really good lap. Looked like if he could have stayed in the gas in the middle of 3 and out of turn 4, and he might have had a shot at that pole.
It looked like he might. It was going the right way there for a moment, but still a pretty good lap for Elliott.
Kind of funny watching David Reagan. These young guys learn these things quickly with that, getting his Coca-Cola chug points there. Last race of the season, trying to get some more dollars for his favorite charity.
Here's Marcus Ambrose making only his 11th start in NASCAR Sprint Cup competition. And I think a lot of people in the garage area have really been impressed with his abilities, particularly in a tough track like Phoenix last week where he had another top 20 finish.
Hey, I think getting in this car has just made him a better race driver. I don't know if it's just the more seat time or realizing that these cars are more difficult to drive, and he's doing a really good job there, but it's also helped him over on the Nationwide side here the last part of the year.
I've seen that happen a lot of times when a guy gets in this series and gets a few starts in the Cup Series. It makes him better everywhere. I think it's the competition level in the Cup Series. It makes you drive harder, faster. They make you do things that you didn't know you could do.
Yeah, I was talking to Michael Waltrip the other night. They're really excited to have him on board for next year with their program.
One of my favorite memories of this season was watching him drive from the back of the pack all the way to 3rd at Watkins Glen and have a shot at winning the race here as laps are winding down.
Andy still thinks he's going to win that race, even now. But you were right. It was exciting the whole way. You were. They were on it. It was fun to watch him.
Got his work cut out for him in qualifying. Right now, he's the slowest of the 10 cars that have gone out of 32.23 his first time by.
Going to be a little disappointed with that, but we did hear him say how glad he was he didn't have to make this particular race on speed because he's in the top 35.
Let's go down and visit with our points leader, Jimmy Johnson. Mike.
And he was a guy who won the pole here at Homestead a year ago. He won't be on the pole, but it looked like it was a pretty solid lap. How would you assess him?
The lap was okay. I felt good about the lap. Unfortunately, coming to the green flag, I lost a bunch of time and I didn't take the green flag with the speed I needed in these long straightaways. I think I lost most of my time there. But we'll take it. You know, wherever it ends up, and we'll go racing.
Where do you estimate you'll be starting on Sunday?
I don't even know where I am right now.
You're 7th.
Out of how many?
Oh, gosh. Somebody help me in the booth.
10. It's not looking good. Do the math. It's not looking good. So, oh well, we'll roll with it. We'll see what we do tomorrow. And qualifying, we'd love to start up front. We'd love to have that first pit stall pick. We all know how important that stuff is, but you know, it's just not for us today. But this team in the past, we've shown our strength many times, not qualifying well. In fact, this year I've turned into a better qualifier than I've ever been. So we'll just kind of run from there and see what we get.
Good luck.
You got it.
Jimmy Johnson right now holding out hopes that it'll be a solid starting position.
Right now, that could put him back in the middle of the pack thereabouts on Sunday. So Carl Edwards pulls off a good qualifying lap. This could get interesting here as the weekend evolves. Here's Dave Blaney driving Bill Davis's Toyota. A lot of speculation in the garage this week about Bill Davis. He said this morning that he would be back preparing for a full season in NASCAR Sprint Cup in 2009.
Pretty good lap there for Dave. 31.94. Puts him just behind Jimmy Johnson in the 8th spot.
Coming off a top 20 finish at Phoenix. They were pretty pumped about how well they ran there. 31st in owners points, so they're solidly in the top 35.
Good to see Bill Davis and these guys get some sponsorship help and be able to be out there for a full season again next year.
They are committed to next year as far as fielding a car, and really hopeful they'll get full-time sponsorship on it.
Okay, DJ, if you're this guy, and you know that the guy you're chasing in the championship has not had the best qualifying lap, How eager are you to go out and plank this thing on the pole?
Hey, you're ready to go right now. You're more pumped up than what you were. You know you got to go out. This is your first chance to kind of fire that first shot and say, okay, guys, this is what we're going to do this weekend. Are you going to be able to handle what you have to do?
That's what Jimmy Johnson did at Phoenix. Said, boys, come get you some of this. He put his car on the pole last week, and they chased him all weekend. And that's what Carl Edwards is hoping, and Bob Osborne's hoping happens here right now.
We know Carl's going to do everything he can do. We saw Jimmy do the same thing. But the car has to be there. This thing has to be handling right. They have to have all of the details handled and making sure they have a good setup for this run.
Yeah, it looked good coming up to speed there and getting through that corner where we saw Jimmy Johnson get loose. Carl didn't have that problem. He got out of the grass a little early, but yeah,
this looks good. I like the way this does. I mean, giving up a little bit on that entry is usually pretty good for a lap. And you see now he's carrying it in the green down the backstretch.
You do that and you make it good and solid, Dan. You're more in control there. Down the bottom of the racetrack. A little surprising here.
Oh, look at this right here.
Wow.
Well, he is coming.
Going the right way.
About that.
Watch Bob Osborne when he flashes by.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he's going to like this.
3150 on the pole.
3150, bud. 3150. Great job. Great job. Awesome. Great work. That's good work.
And Carl Edwards has issued a challenge. I may not win this title, but I'm not going down without a fight. Edwards on the pole thus far in qualifying. Sprint Cup qualifying continuing at Homestead Miami Speedway. Next car to go out, the 9 car, Casey King. He will drive.
Teammate Elliott Sadler was pretty fast. He's up there in 5th, so you'd have to believe that Casey's got something very similar in his car.
Okay, now you see that right there. Casey Kane got in the corner pretty hard, but he gives up a little speed down the back stretch. I really think that what we saw Carl Edwards do, back off a little bit early and carry that speed coming off the corner, is real important here.
So many times you get out there and you get all jacked up for qualifying. Now, that's what's so impressive about what Carl Edwards did, because you know he was fired up to go try to get up there, knowing that Jimmy Johnson hadn't put down the lap he wanted, but he was able to calm himself, not overdrive the car, and put down a great lap.
That takes tremendous discipline from a driver.
Casey Kane, a 2006 pole sitter here, will take just the 1 lap. It's good enough right now for 4th of the 13 cars that have gone. Guys, right now, Jimmy Johnson's back in 9th position. Still a lot of cars yet to run.
Yeah, these Dodges came here. They fired up too. 2nd, 4th, 6th, and 8th right now. So
yeah, it's a good day so far for Dodge.
But a better day for this guy right here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Trying to win 2 championships. There's the cat in the hat. And he is the winningest car owner at this racetrack. Mike.
As we mentioned at the top of the show, Doc, Carl Edwards pretty much has to dominate this weekend. And, well, that lap looked pretty good. Think it'll hold up for the pole?
I don't think it'll hold up for the pole, but it's still a really good lap. You know, I think as it cools down here, some of these guys are going to be screaming fast. But I'm just real proud of my guys, all the guys on the Office Depot team. I mean, they've been working like this is our championship to lose, and that's a good lap for us. You know, we're not the strongest qualifiers, so a good lap like that is good for us.
Just wanted to get your assessment. This is a 1.5 mile racetrack, but it seems so different, at least from the naked eye, than, say, a Charlotte or an Atlanta. How about from a driver's perspective? How differently do you need to attack this racetrack?
Well, it is very different. It's strange because we race on so many tracks this size where the corners, you don't make a full 180-degree turn. You know, they open up onto the front straightaway or they're shallow into the turn 1. So to make a full 180-degree corner, it's just a little bit different. You're just turning a little longer. You run a little bit different line. The great part about this place is you can run right by the fence or down on the white line, and it makes for a real fun race. So if I had to pick a track to be at, like I said, man, this would be the place to come, you know, try to make something happen.
And, Doc, from what we've seen from Carl Edwards, he's not afraid to make something happen at any given time.
Not at all, including the car he's got right there. Remember, that's the car he ran that last lap at Kansas with back when he had that Hail Mary and drove all the way under Jimmy Johnson and bounced it off the wall, and right now he has put it on the pole. Commenting on what Carl just said, DJ, talked about this progressive banking here at 18 to 20 degrees. The transition coming off of turn 2 is different for the backstretch because the back straightaway is elevated 20 feet higher than the front stretch.
Yeah, and it gives you a different sensation because it really flattens out off that corner. You have banking for a long way off the corner, and then all of a sudden it flattens out. But a lot of racing room out there, and just as Carl said, you can run down to the very bottom, you can run up against the wall and kind of achieve the same thing. That's what makes for great racing here, as we see Kevin Harvick out here on a pretty good run.
Yeah, he does, but he drives the car down in the corner hard. We see that, but he's able to stay in the green down the backstretch. Carl Edwards was worried about some of these cars going later. We've got a lot of shade on the racetrack. The track's getting cooler. There's Todd Barrier. See, he gives up a little on the exit, though, of turn 4.
That's going to be a good lap. Looks like it's going to be second quick right now.
It was a great lap. In the 50s, 31.57.
Kevin Harvick right now on the outside of row 1. 15 cars have gone. It's Edwards, Harvick, Montoya, Stewart, and Casey Kane. Back with more qualifying in a moment. Champion and maybe write another page in NASCAR's storied history book on Sunday at the Ford 400 at Homestead, Miami. We invite you to join us for our coverage 3 o'clock Eastern time on ABC, beginning with NASCAR Countdown. Race number 10 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. 28 car on the racetrack, very good in practice. Travis Quapple was 5th overall among the 46 cars in the early morning practice session. Can he keep it there? Got a good lap going.
So far, so good.
Made a nice corner there. Good exit. A lot of speed down the back straightaway.
Okay, here's the key. Can he get off turn 4 and to the line?
I think he's got going for him. He's losing time
to get out of it. I think he got up just a little too high there.
We'll say he had that W8 horsepower too.
He's going to run a second lap because he knows he made a mistake there.
Yeah, but that's going to kill even his second lap here as he gets started with it. Drives it down in the corner pretty hard, though.
Like you said, it's just hard not to get jacked up for this lap and have enough discipline to not charge these corners.
You know, that first one, he just got back to the gas so soon, it looked like he just lost the nose right there, and then he almost was into the wall, so he had to squeeze out of the throttle.
I missed my 3 and 4.
Fix it up just a little bit, about 300s. Stay 6th.
Travis already a pole sitter this year at Talladega. Yates Racing. Here's the 6th car, David Reagan. We talked to him a little bit ago about the possibilities of him maybe picking up his first win. Mike.
And catching up with Happy, who's probably a little happier now. Picked up about 2/10 from practice. Where'd that come from?
They did a great job on our Shell Pennzoil Chevrolet. Just knew I could get a little bit more out of it, and probably still didn't get all of it that I needed to in 1 and 2 down there. But still a great lap for us, and guys have done a great job. The car's really good in race trim, so we're looking forward to finishing the year off strong.
Looking at the stats, it appears that track position is pretty important at this racetrack. What's your assessment?
I think track position is important. Seems like everywhere we go. Last week it was probably the most important thing, but track position is definitely going to be important to be able to run where you need to, because it seems like the tire of the car or whatever it is are line sensitive.
I've heard people say, talking about the car being line sensitive, aero sensitive, more aero sensitive at some of the mile-and-a-half racetracks. This is one of them. How does it compare in terms of handling to, say, a Charlotte or an Atlanta?
The cars seem to grip a little bit better here than they do at, say, Charlotte and Atlanta, for that fact. But I think Charlotte and Atlanta are 2 different types of grips. I think, Atlanta's just really wore out, and Charlotte's just real edgy because they have to make the tire so hard to be able to last through a run. So this place is just kind of its own unique character, I guess you could say.
Good solid lap.
Thank you.
Kevin Harvick, second on the board right now, guys.
He seemed pretty happy, Mike. It should be with that qualifying run. Here's the 6th car of David Reagan, and that's 3rd overall for Reagan, who qualified 7th a year ago and had another good run. Maybe he could be our first-time winner this year. Let's go down to Shannon.
Well, Jamie McMurray just checking out the car on the track right now. I think that's your teammate, David Reagan. But, of course, your teammate, Carl Edwards, is on the pole. You have what it takes to knock him off that pole and get the one this weekend?
Well, we have the same opportunity as everybody else. I wish that you could go out right now because the clouds have come in, and it feels like it's cooled down 20 degrees just standing here, and the track looks like it's getting quicker and quicker. If that cloud will stay out, the track will cool down some more. Our Crown Royal Ford Fusion it's really fast again. It was really good in race trim, and we put it in qualifying trim, and it's been a little bit too loose, but Larry assures me that they've tightened it up enough, and we'll go out here and see what we have. I'm shocked to see that the guys that went out early didn't go any quicker than they did. It just looks like the track didn't have grip, but it's come back now.
Now you're coming off 2 of your season's best finishes. Are you secretly wishing deep down inside that this season was not over this weekend?
Well, I mean, on one hand, I wish that, but at the same time, if we can run well here, qualify well, and race well, we'll get to have a great winter, and be able to think about that. So, the teams that end this year strong are going to start next year off running really well, and the fact that they've cut testing now, I think that will benefit the guys that end the year running well. So we get through this weekend. I'm obviously already looking forward to next year.
And if that holds true, what Jamie McMurray just said, he is going to have a great start to the 2009 season.
They're coming on back-to-back top 3 finishes the last 2 weeks, and this team's really caught on. Reed Sorensen out for his run, 4th overall.
Looks like he thought about running a second lap, but didn't have the feel he was looking for off turn 2 and just came pulling it down on the apron here.
He used up a lot of tire coming off turn 4 just to stay out of the wall, so I think it's probably a good choice not to run that second lap.
Martin Truex in the 1 car going out to qualify, and big news this week out of the DEI stable. Dale Earnhardt Incorporated in a merger with Chip Ganassi and Felix Sabates' team to form Earnhardt Ganassi Sabates Racing for 2009, a 4-car team which will have Truex in the 1 car, Eric Almirola in the 8, Juan Pablo Montoya in the 42, and a driver to be named later in the 41 car. And the word is they will run Chevys and the Chevy Power.
It's just a move to try to make them stronger. You know, these super teams like Hendrick and Roush, there's the only way to beat them is to try to strengthen your effort. And these guys teaming up and merging is the way to do that. It's just to make your organization overall stronger.
Make it stronger and survive during these difficult times.
Martin Truex had a difficult weekend at Phoenix last week. Engine issues, and ran only 27 laps and had to park it, but had a good lap going in turn 3, but like so many, just losing time coming off 4.
He had it going on. He just overdrove it, really looks like, going into 3, and he paid a big price off the corner, off of 4. But still 5th. Pretty good lap.
He'll go back and watch this lap, but he's going to realize that if he had done the same thing that he did coming to get to green on his lap, then he'd have probably been better off. And we've all been guilty of that so many times. I can't tell you.
He's still got a shot right here if he can make this lap better in this corner. But nope, it's not going to happen.
Losing it right there.
What is encouraging is watching all these guys run this high line. Here he comes in. Yeah, he's just going to come on pit road. Is how they're using the high line in qualifying. Yeah. I think that means that Sunday we're going to see a lot of good racing grooves out there. A lot of side-by-side racing.
We saw Carl kind of utilize both. He ran kind of middle to top in turns 1 and 2 and then dove to the bottom in 3 and 4. And he's the fastest guy out there.
Some of the drivers in the garage area compare this track to Atlanta because of the different groove options. Do you really have that many places to run here at Homestead like you do it at Atlanta Raceway?
Yeah, you really do. I mean, just like Carl Edwards said, you're going to be able to run on the bottom if that's where you want to set your car up and it's handling good down there. You're going to be able to go to the top and run around there and carry a lot of momentum down the straightaways. So it does give you a lot of options, and obviously there's at least 2 lanes in between where that white line is and the wall. So it's going to be a fun race to watch.
Here's a guy that'll run great if that groove does move right up next to the wall, and I'm sure that's where we'll see him on Sunday. See him up there pretty well on his qualifying lap here, too.
Yeah, Michael likes to get in that high line and keep the momentum.
He wasn't great in practice. He was 39th.
Oh,
see, the same thing happened to Kurt Busch.
I think he's going to maybe try to get stopped.
I just didn't make him.
Nope.
No, that's just that'll do it for both laps there.
Yeah, he guaranteed a starting spot, so if he don't want to tear up a race car here, go in and fix the right side and get set for Sunday.
See, this has been a trouble spot for a lot of these guys. They try to pick that throttle up early. They're just running out of racing room right there.
Doesn't get in the wall hard, but he does enough damage they'll have to do a little cosmetic work in the garage area. Shannon?
Well, down here with your defending race winner, Matt Kenseth, we're just talking football, talking about testing, but let's talk about this car. You did it last year. Do you have the car that could possibly win this race this weekend?
Well, I hope so. If we do, we haven't shown it yet today in practice, so today's been a very real struggle so far. So Carl's on top of the board. The 6 has been real fast, so hopefully we can see some of the stuff they're doing and get a good lap here qualifying.
Now, I read this week where you said that you had started working on your Homestead package, your setup, weeks ahead of time. What have you learned? What did you guys bring here today, and how far off were you?
Well, you know, we try to work a few weeks ahead of time on everywhere we go, you know, as we try to learn. This was a brand new car we had at Atlanta and led a lot of laps there and ran good. So we felt good about the car coming here. We just got to, you know, nobody's been here except for the few guys doing tire tests. We just got to figure out what the car needs to make it feel good around here.
And we were talking about testing, no testing coming up next season, no Daytona testing. What are your thoughts on that rule?
Well, I think it's good. I mean, especially with this car, if they don't make an aero change or rules change, a splitter height change, there's only so much we can do. You know, it's kind of like happy hour test every week. We can change, you know, sway bar, springs, shocks, and bump stops, you know, until we're blue in the face. But there's really nothing we can do with the aero package we have or the body or any of that. So, especially Daytona, we just kind of went down there, especially after racing them a year and not really done much anyway. Just pretty much ran in circles. So, I think it'll be okay. It might actually make the racing better. It might get this field spread out a little bit and make it a little easier to pass.
All right, Matt Kenseth, it's been a year since his last win here at Homestead. Of course, with Roush Fenway's record, looking to get it done here again this weekend. Doc?
Dominated the day last year here. 214 laps, led the most ever by a driver to win this race here in the season finale. Now, what they're referring to is earlier today on our air, NASCAR President Mike Helton made a statement, a cost-cutting maneuver. NASCAR has said no more testing at any NASCAR sanctioned tracks on their major touring, including their Camping World Series tracks. And we'll talk about how much that could actually save all these teams in terms of funds coming up in 2009.
You've waited long enough. College basketball.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Series qualifying. Homestead Miami Speedway, 31 car. Jeff Burton on the track to try to get his car dialed in. His teammate Kevin Harvick right now on the outside of row one. It is Edwards and Harvick, the two quickest thus far of the 20 that have gone.
Good lap going here. Jeff Burton so far.
Still right there, turn 4. Carl Edwards must have just gotten off that corner. Excellent, because nobody's been able to make any ground on him off that corner.
You know, and what he did was dive to the bottom of the racetrack there. Everybody else is trying to utilize that top lane down in 3 and 4. Carl did that in 1 and 2. He went right to the bottom in 3 and 4. That's where everybody's losing their time to the 99 car.
Burton, 8th quickest, first time by, will go ahead and take a second lap. No one has been able to, only 2 cars have been able to run quicker on lap 2, and he will not do it as he loses time, as you said, coming on off of 4.
Yeah, just a few hundred slower.
Let's go down and visit with Michael Walter. Mike.
And Michael now assessing the damage to his machine. What happened?
The racetrack's just not quite big enough. I got to turn 3, and if it was just another foot or 2 wider, I'd have been okay. There's a bump up there, and I hadn't really run any qualifying runs up top, but I convinced myself that I knew where to go. 1 and 2 worked perfect. I was really happy with my car, and when I got to 3 and 4, I hit that little bitty bump, and it just shot me over enough to catch the wall, but it didn't even knock the toe off. I got a great bunch of guys. They're all smiles. They're happy to see somebody throw it out there and try to go for it, and either that or they're nice to me because I own it. But one or the other, they're really happy with the lap up to that point, and they'll just bang out the side of the Napa car and we'll be fine.
Talking about banging out the sides, we've seen this car, this type of car this year, be able to take a beating at times and still be pretty good. That said, how would you assess the damage?
It's minor. It looks a lot worse than it is. The white paint from the safer barriers all down the side of the Napa car, you can barely read the logo or the number, but mechanically it's fine, and these boys know they know exactly where to pull on it and where to make it all back good as new. So got a good bunch of guys work on the Napa car, and I'm just real proud of them. Looking forward so much, Mike, to the race on Sunday, but especially next year. We've come so far in a short period of time, and we're going to get with them next year.
Michael Waltrip's right, and you can see it in the stats they've been putting up lately, Doc.
And he is right. They have come a long way, DJ. You can attest to that from where this team started a year ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah, sometimes we forget of just how little time they've been in existence. I'm not talking about just adding a team or two here. Starting with 3 teams running the nationwide car, and they've made a lot happen in a short amount of time, and it's really impressive to see that, and glad for Michael that things are working out.
Eric Almirola making his 12th start of the year, clocks in 20th overall. The U.S. Army Chevrolet, Dale Earnhardt Incorporated car. Was checking with a driver who had to be initially pretty worried about coming here this weekend. Shannon?
Yeah, Doc, we were actually just talking about that. Scott Speed in the 83 car this weekend did a car swap with Brian Vickers. We were talking about the pressure that he felt when he did have to qualify on time, and you say there's definitely still pressure even though you know you're in the field. Why is that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I put a certain amount of pressure on myself every weekend. I mean, you always want to go forward, and I mean, especially with my experience level, I mean, every weekend, you know, it's great to see improvement, so I'm always pushing to get better.
Now, a lot of people say Homestead Miami Speedway is a totally unique track, even though it is a mile and a half, an intermediate track. Compared to the mile and a half that you've been on so far this season, how does it compare?
I mean, honestly, it's all so different. I mean, they're all ovals, and there's a lot of weight over there with a lot of horsepower. So, I mean, honestly, I think that from one track to the other really doesn't change so much for me.
All right, Scott Speed climbing behind the wheel of the 83 car. He is in the field, Doc.
Thank you, Shannon. Here's the Biff, the three-time winner at Homestead. Did he drive that car into one or what?
Yeah, he gave it a shot. Didn't pay off, but 12th fastest on that first lap. But he sure did give it a great effort.
I was looking to see if the sun might have been in his eyes down there and he missed his mark or something. Wow.
He was headed to Key Largo.
He's headed to the pits now. Not going to try the second lap.
No one's been any better on this racetrack than he has, winning three times in the last 4 trips to Homestead, Miami.
These guys have their work cut out for them. They're going to beat Carl Edwards. He made just a really, really good corner down in 3 and 4. A lot of guys have come close in 1 and 2 and down the back straightaway, but they really can't match him at all in 3 and 4.
And the racetrack is shaded. It should be getting cooler and the conditions getting faster. We just haven't seen anybody really be able to challenge Carl from the middle of turn 3 and 4 to the start-finish line.
The other thing we haven't seen, you talk about that discipline that Carl showed in not overdriving, getting into the corner, but picking the throttle back up. And that's where we see these guys, most of them are losing time to him.
Regan Smith, who was the highest finishing Rebestos rookie candidate last week at Phoenix, coming home with a 23rd place finish. His final race of the year with DEI, see what he can do. Also in a pretty tight points racing for Rookie of the Year with the Sam Hornets, just 3 points back of Sam.
Yeah, Regan's had a nice solid year. Got a pretty good lap going here.
It's always a nervous time for the crew chief. You see Dan Stillman right there. Goes out of sight, and you're okay. You got your stopwatch on him. You're waiting to hear this lap, and you just have no idea. He can't see what we see.
Sometimes they don't want to.
A decent lap, 14th at a 31.88.
Each of these cars keeps knocking Jimmy Johnson back a notch. He's back to 17th spot now.
We mentioned the merger with DEI and Ganassi. Now, Regan's name wasn't mentioned yet among the 3 drivers that are solidly in a car. Still 1 car available, and obviously he would be a candidate there. So this final race, very important for him to make some points with Teresa Earnhardt, Chip Ganassi, and Felix Sabates.
Unable to pick it up on the second lap. Only 3 cars have been able to run faster on that second lap.
Well, the question is, can anybody beat Carl Edwards, who has given him a lap to shoot at a 31.50? Now, in the interview, Carl said as it gets cooler, I don't think that lap will stand up. Here's a guy, Casey Mears, who was very good at attacking the racetrack earlier today when it was pretty warm out there.
He jumped up to the top early in the practice session, relatively early, but he wound up in the top 20. Max Pappas. Is that Emerson?
Emerson Fittipaldi. How about that? That's his father-in-law. Legendary Formula One champion and Indy 500 winner, one of the all-time great drivers.
If I could hop in one today and still do good.
He's in great physical shape.
Casey Mears, a good lap going here. Got through 1 and 2, really good.
Okay, here's the tail of the tape, though.
Yep.
See if he can get off of turn 4. Still in the green.
Yeah, picks the throttle up early, but losing it right here. This is where Carl Edwards was really strong.
That's tight right in the center.
Yeah, he was tight right in the center. Still a good lap, 7th quick. Try another one here.
Final ride in his career with Hendrick Motorsports, where he got his first win in Cup racing. at Charlotte a year ago. Headed over to Richard Childress Racing to drive the 07 car for 2009. And same result. Out of turn 3 and 4, losing the time, but not a bad effort at all. 7th overall of the 25 cars that are going out to qualify.
He's the best of the Hendrick bunch here today.
Shannon?
Well, down here with Max Pappas, who is the first driver go homer. Just want to talk about your car first. You guys were 40th in practice. Have you found some speed possibly? I know you got to make it into this race.
No, we were actually a little faster than 40th. We were running, thinking the top 30, 35, and it was pretty good. The Geico car was really fast. We've got a lot to learn, but it's great to be out here, and we're gonna go out there and drive it as hard as we can.
As hard as you can. 18 races next year. How important are these, not only practice sessions, but also making the race just to kind of get prepared for next season?
We got 2 bonus races this year. Basically, we are out here to learn where we are, and I really want to make the show. It would mean a lot for me, for all of us. We've been working so hard, and I'm gonna dig deep in me, and I hope that with the assist of God and my dad up there, it could be a good one.
All right, good luck to you, Max.
Love to see guys like Max Pappas make it in this sport. So popular. Look at the 7 car here. And that's the twilight zone when it comes to qualifying between 3 and 4 getting off. Robbie Gordon had such a good lap going.
This is still going to be a pretty good lap. This is in the top 10, 9th quick so far.
Yeah, nice effort by Robbie Gordon there. All these guys are complaining about their cars getting tight, though, and they just don't have a lot of room when they're in the middle or top part of that racetrack to exit the corner then. And that's where Carl was on the bottom of the racetrack. And I don't know if his car was tight or just drove perfect off of there, but he gained so much speed or just didn't lose the speed that these guys are. But he was on the bottom and had a lot more racetrack to use up coming out of that corner.
If I'm Carl Edwards, I'm starting to worry now. These next 4 or 5 cars are guys are going to have really good shots at maybe taking that pole away, including his teammate who sat on the outside front row last week at Phoenix, Jamie McMurray.
Yeah, if I'm Carl, this is one of the cars I'm worried about because they have been fast every week, and they're just knocking on the door to win a race, and I would be scared of Jamie McMurray.
Yeah, and I'm not too sure how much Carl's worried. The guy that he's concerned about is falling rapidly here in the qualifying order. So yeah, Carl's going to start somewhere in the top 5 for sure, and he knows that he can get up there and lead a lap.
Larry Carter has done a phenomenal job here the second half of the season with Jamie. Of course, he'll be moving on to run the number 98 car next year, which will be Paul Menard's number with Yates Racing.
Okay, he's going to run this bottom part of the racetrack if he's able to hold his car down there, but and it looks like it's paying off.
Yeah, got to the gas pretty good.
Had to cut the corner off.
4th quick. Good lap for Jamie.
3 of the top 4 right now are Roush Fenway cars. Only Chevy up there is Harvick on the outside of row 1.
Only a 1/10 of a second off the pole on that first lap. You see the second lap is not going to be quite as quick.
One thing it's nice to have, even when you have a little bit of tightness to your car, you have that Doug Yates horsepower, you can kind of drive through that a lot of times. Makes a big difference.
It makes a big difference when they handle down the straightaway.
Yeah, it does, yeah. Yeah. And those guys do such a really good job of tuning those engines for qualifying, too. It'll be 4th quickest for Jamie McMurray.
A little slower on that second lap, but great first lap.
Well, he's dodged 1 bullet. Now he's going to have a couple of Joe Gibbs cars coming at him. Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin the next 2 up.
You don't think this guy's going to attack the racetrack, do you?
You think? Kyle, a 2-time pole winner this year, has never won a pole or a race here at Homestead Miami Speedway. One of the great memories of this season was the first win for Toyota coming in Atlanta. Kyle Busch got it for Toyota and Joe Gibbs Racing. And then the domination that this team and this car had in the first 26 races of the year with 8 wins and over 1,600 laps led.
You see a little smoke there, a little bottoming out of that splitter in the middle of the corner. He's in the green.
Had a lot of speed right there, but he's losing a little bit down the back straightaway.
You see, he did use that little discipline we're talking about. He eased up and getting into turn 1 and carried some speed off the corner. He's got it going right here, too, but right here is where Carl Edwards was so strong.
I think Carl's car right there was just free enough that he didn't lose that scrub any speed off on the exit of the corner. Didn't have to turn the steering wheel any more than he had to just to drive it off.
How many drivers would actually go back and look at Carl's lap on tape and see what he did in 3 and 4 to try to figure that out?
They do a lot of that. They've got this little program called Dartfish, and they'll go in there and you can actually place your car in a ghost of the pole-winning car and see exactly where on the racetrack that you're getting beat. These teams all have that, and that's one way they look at it.
Yeah, not many secrets out there in this business.
Here's a separation of a few generations here in racing. The veteran Kenny Schrader and the youngster Brad Keselowski. Someone says that age before beauty. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, Schrader's got not so much of the other.
NASCAR Sprint Cup qualifying ongoing at Homestead Miami Speedway. Denny Hamlin going to take his shot at Carl Edwards. See if he can get his Toyota on the front row. Maybe on the pole.
Nice solid run last week.
This is about as low as we've seen anybody run right there. Coming to the green, or actually coming off 4. Carl didn't run that low all the way through the corner. He ran that low off.
He's back in 18th.
And that's all he's going to run. He's coming in.
So he will slow down, head down pit road. That means that Matt Kenseth, another one of the Roush Fenway teammates, will be the next car to roll out here momentarily. Shannon.
Down here with Brad Keselowski driving the number 25 car for Hendrick Motorsports. You see that side damage. That happened in first practice, but looks like you guys got the car back to work. I know Lance McGrew was busy in the garage. How do you think it is right now? What has he told you?
Oh, well, I think it's going to be fine. You know, that's one of the great things about the COT cars. You can really run them hard, and you can scrape them up, and they take it. So, you know, we take advantage of that with the GoDaddy Chevrolet, and we're going to use every inch on this racetrack. I think you're seeing that in qualifying where everyone's running up top, and the error of margin is so small that, you know, you have to use it all. So, you know, like I said, I think we'll be all right, and, you know, just excited to have this GoDaddy car here. It means a lot to me to get this opportunity.
That's definitely a positive spin, taking advantage of all the racetrack. Now, you're over here talking to Ken Schrader. What kind of veteran advice was he giving you about today?
Oh, we're just talking about how fortunate we are to be here. You know, I'm lucky to have, like, GoDaddy with me, a brand new sponsor in this series, and he's lucky to have a deal over there, and we're just very fortunate to be here in these times.
All right, Brad Keselowski is going to go attempt to make the start. And, guys, it looks like we may have a guy on the track making a run for the pole right now.
And he has done it.
2 1/1000ths of a second.
Wow, that's holding on. Well, Matt Kenseth had not won a pole or a race in 2008, and right now he may have won a pole, and he's not quitting yet.
500, bud.
I think you heard that. He said, okay, I'm good. I'm good. Great job. And I'll tell you how good a job it was. He wasn't even in the top 15 in practice. These guys did a lot of things right from practice to qualifying.
Yeah. He talked about the brand new car they took to Atlanta and led the most laps. Another brand new car at the end of the year to come here to Homestead, and right now it is the fastest car in the field and trying to break that 35 race winless streak.
Yeah, and I think he might be benefiting some. 1 and 2's really shaded over right now, and you could see that's where he actually beat Carl by quite a bit down there.
Here's David Gilliland out to qualify. He had an eventful trip to Phoenix. You rarely see cars double stacked on the racetrack, but that's what happened.
See, Montoya gets into Casey Mears. Casey spins across the racetrack, and a lot of cars trying to avoid this. They start stacking up, literally, with David Gilliland winding up on the hood of Scott Speed's car.
Yeah, Scott Speed said, I looked up and I was seeing the underside of a fuel cell with flame coming out of it, so I wanted to get out in a hurry.
Yeah, and then Gilliland trying to drive off of there, too. Scott Speed said he was throwing the rubber back on him.
Almost got hurt just trying to get out of the car. He fell about 10 feet there, getting back to the ground. Here's David trying to get this car. He is guaranteed a starting spot.
A little disappointing on that first lap. 25th, 31.94. Whoa. Now, hang on to her.
It's going to be his lap back in 25th spot now.
Now, the fastest car that in practice this morning that has yet to run is about to come up, the 44 of David Rudiman. I got to believe he might have the best shot at knocking Matt Kenseth off the pole. Kenseth climbing out. We'll come back in a moment and follow David Rudiman's run for the pole here at Homestead. Native state of Florida, Zephyr Hills, Florida driver David Rudeman, 38 years of age. In practice, he was 4th quickest, and he's got a good lap going, guys.
Yeah, he does. He's got some shade on this racetrack.
Stay in the throttle right here.
He's got a shot. It's going the right way.
And
he did it.
He did it.
Rudeman.
63rd career start and maybe his first pole. And let's go down to visit with Matt Kenseth. Mike.
And Matt Kenseth was on the pole for a little while. You saw that cloud come in. You knew that those speeds were going to pick up, didn't you?
Well, really, I didn't think my lap felt very good. So, I mean, I guess that's a testament to Chip and the guys, picking the car up on speed. So, I didn't think, I thought I had a really sloppy, bad lap, to tell you the truth. So, I figured if somebody hit it right, they'd be able to beat that pretty easily.
And still, you picked up quite a bit of speed from practice. What did you guys work on between the end of practice and the beginning of qualifying?
Well, it seems like we're really low on grip here. I don't know if the tire's real hard or what it is, but just trying to work on staying in the gas. You just had to feather it so much off the corner. You could never get the gas laid down hard, and we just had it tightened up there. I could stay in the gas, but I was too tight where I couldn't carry the speed I wanted to in the middle. So that'll still be a good spot to start.
And you never can count out Matt Kenseth here or any of the Roush Fenway cars, considering what they've done here the past 4 years, Doc.
Indeed, you cannot. 4 in a row for Roush Fenway. 5 wins in the last 6 times they have come to this racetrack. Bobby Labonte, the 43 car, owned by the King Richard Petty. Cooperative effort with Boston Ventures. Bobby, a former winner here, led the fewest laps of anybody going to victory lane. 1 lap.
That's all you have to, as long as it's that right one, that last one.
Really only about 3/4.
Yeah.
See, Bobby's got a new sponsor on the car this week, Garmin.
Clock in 27th right now, 31.95. Bobby's going to make an attempt at this second lap. As we see in most everyone's case, not going to be as quick.
2000 Cup Series champion. One of those drivers that's been in every single NASCAR Sprint Cup race here at Homestead, Miami. 9 times. This will be his 10th start, and he'll have a start back in 27th or in that area of position. By the way, Jimmy Johnson, our points leader right now, is 24th.
Ouch.
Let's go down and talk with our provisional pole sitter right now, David Rudeman. Mike.
And man, that cloud, it certainly came in a good time for you, but it seeed like you had a good enough race car whether the cloud was there or not. How good was that lap?
It felt pretty good. I mean, obviously the cloud helped a lot, and the track's getting a little bit cooler, so that always helps. But Ryan Perman and the guys prepared me a great car, and I don't know. I mean, it could be that, or a guy handed me a business card with my dad's picture of his coupe on there.
And it looks like good luck.
Yeah. So I put it in my pocket, and maybe I had Buzz was driving the car instead of me that time. Maybe, I don't know. But it was a good lap, and I don't know if it'll hold up or not. But I'm proud of my guys. They did a great job.
We were talking with Michael Waltrip a little earlier. He was talking about how many strides, how big strides you guys have made it as an organization since the beginning of the year. In what ways can you define how this organization is better now than they were, say, midsummer?
Well, I mean, heck, there's so many differences now than what we had before. It's pretty phenomenal that first part of the year just building the organization and trying to get stronger and trying to get better. And as our cars have gotten better, our pit stops have gotten better. I mean, all the way across the board, we got better engineering support. Toyota's making more horsepower with the motors and stuff. So it's a bunch of different, a bunch of things combined that make Michael Waltrip Racing what it is right now. More importantly, the guys back in the fab shop working and building these cars every week. I'm really proud of those guys. They do a great job for us.
And Scott Speed just made a run at the pole, but came up just a little bit short. So David Rudeman's still on top of the board.
Wow, how about that? Only his 5th start in a NASCAR Sprint Cup car. And we're worried about him. They switched drivers to get him in this car so he wouldn't have to worry about qualifying. I don't think they had to worry too much.
They didn't need to worry about qualifying. That was a tremendous lap.
He's just been driving the wrong number. That's been his problem. Simple. Sometimes we make this so difficult.
Now you got to wonder if Brian Vickers, his teammate, is going out late now as it's cooling off. Will have a car for the pole.
Absolutely.
Definitely encouraging when your teammate goes out there and puts down a lap like that.
Yeah, that's very impressive by Scott Speed. I mean, it doesn't have a lot of laps in these cars.
Here's Scott Riggs, who's the last car guaranteed a starting spot to go out and qualify, and his name is surfacing in a lot of different openings for 2009. As far as people looking for drivers, he will not be obviously with this team. It'll be owned by Tony Stewart. The drivers, Tony Stewart and Ryan Newman, but Scott's at least a top 2 or 3 candidate for 3 different other teams. Yeah, and didn't get the lap there that he wanted. That's 32nd right now, 32.09. But the one thing that Scott has done in this race car, and that's keep this car in the top 35 in points, which is huge because at one time they had fallen out of the top 35, and so that's going to assure Ryan Newman of being in. And then Tony Stewart has the past champions provisionals if needed, if that case came up. So very important for the job that Scott Riggs has done for Tony Stewart and that team for next year. 32nd overall, and now it's nail-biting time for the guys that must get in on time and speed. 11 of them to come. 3 will go home. Here's the quickest guy thus far.
In the history of sports, B means a lot of things, but this B.
Now the 11 guys that must compete among themselves to get in this starting field. And the first of these 11, Max Pappas in the Geico Toyota. Trying to make his 3rd start of the year. He's run the 2 road course races at Infineon and Watkins Glen. You could hear the emotion in his voice when you interviewed him a moment ago with his father-in-law, Emerson Fittipaldi, standing behind him, about how much it would mean for him here in South Florida with so much family to be able to make an oval track start here in NASCAR. He's got a pretty solid lap going so far. He had a good practice session.
I love this guy. He's got so much heart. He races so hard. He really wants this. I mean, he wants it in the worst way.
Yeah, well, he's 30th right there. We'll have to see, but most of the time when you go in and you say, well, I out-qualified Jeff Gordon and Kurt Busch, that's normally a pretty good thing.
You see, you just go ahead and take that.
Exactly right. And even if he wouldn't make the field, he could go home and say, well, I out-qualified those guys. You know, we talked about the testing deal for next year. This is exactly the type of people that, you know, it is going to hinder somewhat.
It is, and the reason you saw it right there, that car was bottoming out, the splitter and all that through the corner. That's really hard to get right. And without these guys being able to test, that's going to hurt these teams. This hurt Max a little bit. They didn't have the car exactly right, but Max did a great job.
Lots of motorsports to come your way here for the weekend. We'll be back here with our coverage of NASCAR Sprint Cup Happy Hour at 3 o'clock on Saturday, followed by the final race of the year for the NASCAR Nationwide Series and a championship on the line in the Ford 300. Will it be the Ford of Carl Edwards or the Chevy of Clint Boyer? Automobile Club of Southern California NHRA qualifying tomorrow night at 11 Eastern Time. Then on Sunday, NASCAR Now will kick off our coverage at 10 a.m. Live flag-to-flag coverage of the Ford 400 at Homestead, Miami, Sunday, 3 o'clock Eastern Time on ABC. We'll wrap it up with Automobile Club of Southern California NHRA Finals at 7 o'clock Eastern Time over on ESPN2. Here's A.J. Allmendinger, who's done a phenomenal job in this Gillette Evernham Dodge. And I would say that everyone in the garage area would tell you right now, they told me this morning, this guy's stock has gone through the roof over the past month.
Oh, I talked to some of the team members today, and they really like this guy. You know, it was just a temporary situation when they started out, but they've really grown fond of him. They would probably like to keep him in a car if they could.
He's struggling a little bit right there. You see, he couldn't get to the gas as much as he wanted. Looked like that car was really, really loose.
He's 28th, so far the quickest of the 2 go-or-go-home cars.
He was the quickest of all the go-or-go-homers in the practice session. That bodes pretty well for the fact that he's 28th and Max Pappas was 31st, so maybe Max has got a pretty good shot. Most of these guys we're probably going to see run that second lap until they get to the point.
Yeah, they don't know that they're not guaranteed in until some of these cars, they outrun some cars, so they'll try everything.
AJ had never run a NASCAR Sprint Cup car at this track. He'd only been here in the NASCAR Nationwide Series car. Let's go down and visit with a guy who had a heck of a qualifying lap, Mike.
And he was just congratulated by Jimmy Elledge, his crew chief. Wow, where'd that lap come from?
I don't know. It was lap 9 on the track today. I mean, what can I say? The car's definitely really close. Like I said before, I mean, I definitely felt more confident coming in here, even though we got such little running in practice. I mean, the car was just right. I mean, my job is going to be a lot more difficult to keep it up there tomorrow, I'll tell you that.
You talk about the confidence level. This is just your 5th start. How much more comfortable are you in these cars now than you were in your debut?
You want to hear me say like a lot, but honestly, I mean, it's so competitive out there, and I see so much, how much there is still to learn. It's definitely getting closer, but I mean, it's going to be a process. I mean, this is a marathon, it's not a sprint race.
Whatever the case, Shannon, he's certainly making it look easy here in qualifying today.
Mike down here with Brian Vickers, who will be the last driver to go out in this qualifying effort. He is in the 84 car, usually Scott Speed's car. Second on the speed charts for that 83. What do you think you can do for this 84?
I think it'd be pretty good. We kept going back and forth whether to run the top or run the bottom. Obviously, being, we're not knocking the field. The top, there's a lot less room for error. If something goes wrong, there's no room to make it up. You're going to hit the wall, and it's really going to hurt your laps. So we're probably going to lean to the bottom. I'm sure that's going to hurt our overall speed, but we'll see how it ends up. I think we were pretty good in practice.
Now, the 84 car right now is 17 points outside that top 35. Knowing that, if you make the race, how is that going to change your approach to racing this weekend?
None. I mean, we just need to go out there and try to win the race. We just got to finish the best we can, try to get this car back in the top 35, and maybe the best for all of Red Bull.
All right, good luck to you today. Brian Vickers in the 84 car. He is the last, as I said, to go out in this qualifying session.
We'll see if he can get it done here. May have a good shot at it. How about Bill Elliott? Awesome Bill in the 21 car for the Wood brothers, 15th quickest.
This team's really coming on. They're running great every week. Top 15 so far. Good job for the Wood brothers and Bill Elliott.
Well, can someone come up and knock off Rudeman? Still some more cars to go. We'll see who's going to get in and who will go home when we come back. Homestead Miami Speedway NASCAR Sprint Cup pole qualifying continuing. This is the 09 of veteran Sterling Marlin.
This is a car that Hendrick Motorsports prepared for Phoenix Racing for Sterling to run this final race of the year. He should have a good shot at it right here.
Sterling will try to make his 9th start of the year. His best finish 22nd back in the spring at Phoenix.
If he were to make the race, this would be James Finch's 100th Cup Series start.
Pretty solid lap going here. Get off of turn 4.
So far, so good for Sterling.
Yeah, it's looking good.
That'll do it for him. That's in the top 20. That's 19th, 31.70, 76. That's a good lap.
And as you said, most of these guys will go ahead and take both laps on the racetrack. Nothing to lose here. If you've already got one in, get a shot, maybe get a little bit better. Grab some grip out of turn 3 and 4, which he's not able to do right now as he loses a little time, as most others have done at that same spot coming off of 4.
He loses just a little bit of time, so he'll stay 19th.
Well, we invite you to join us for coverage on Sunday here, the final stop in the 2008 season for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, and we will crown a champion and maybe write another page in the NASCAR history books if Jimmy Johnson can pull it out. The Ford 400 at Homestead, Miami, Sunday, 3 o'clock Eastern Time on ABC, beginning with NASCAR Countdown. Alan Bestwick, Brad Daugherty, Rusty Wallace, and Ray Evernham will set the stage, and then we will go at it here for the final time in 2008. Next car to go out to qualify will be the driver nicknamed Front Row Joe Nemechek. And a little bit of news coming out of this team yesterday. They announced that they would run a limited schedule in 2009. Furniture Row Racing team president Joe Garone saying it's just simply a matter of the economy, and they're having to balance their priorities.
See, we're comparing this lap to Sterling Marlin's lap. If Joe were to beat Sterling, which he's on pace to do, that'll lock him in. Missed the race last week at Phoenix, so I'm sure Joe's motivated here to make this last race.
Yeah, they've made 31 of 35 races this year, including he was a pole sitter at Talladega. They've had a good year with this team.
Wow, nice lap. That's 16th fastest, and that will lock Joe in. It keeps moving Jimmy Johnson further and further back. He's 28 so far.
You're Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus, DJ. Are you a little concerned about being back that far with a few very inexperienced drivers between you and the front of the field?
Well, there's no doubt that that's not the type of situation they were looking to put themselves in here in this race. See Joe Nemechek running that second lap. But yeah, Jimmy, it's going to be a lot more stressful 2 days and nights here before Sunday afternoon comes around. They've been very good at avoiding trouble, though, for the majority of the year. You know, their biggest concern right now is going to be getting their car good enough in tomorrow's practice to make sure that they're comfortable with it, that they can go forward in the race and do the job that they need to do.
And how do you do it? Do you try to get there quickly? Do you do it on pit road with pit strategy to get track position, or do you just do you find a place to stay out of trouble?
Very carefully. Yeah. They don't need to pull any tricks, you know. I mean, you know, their job's kind of cut and dried. It's what they have to do. So it's not an ultimatum that they have to be up and finish in the top 10. They only have to be in the top 36, and so they don't have to do any tricks. They need to keep good tires on it all day long. No strategies. Make sure they get all the wheels tight on the pit stops, and you know, have a good enough car to make some passes during the race, and they will have that.
Just don't shoot yourself in the foot.
That's right.
Tony Raines in the 70 car out to qualify. Again, in the garage area this morning, Tony's name kept surfacing up among some of the owners and crew chiefs that I was talking to about possible open seats for 2009. He's done a pretty nice job with this team.
Well, he's a good race driver. You get in that right situation, you know, and that's what it's all about, is finding yourself in that right opportunity in this sport at the right time.
See, looks like he's going to be slower this second lap. And if he is, that will lock in Sterling Marley.
Right now, Elliott and Nemechek are locked in. The slowest of the go-homers is Max Pappas, 35th overall.
Good news for Raines is the next car that runs slower than his lap, he'll lock in because he's the next highest car.
So Chad McCumbee will be the next car to go out in the 45 car for Petty Enterprises. One has to wonder now with the new testing policy NASCAR announced today about a driver like a Chad McCumbee being able to go out and get comfortable now in the car. Obviously, his future isn't exactly set with this 45 team for 2009. So would they opt to now go get a more experienced driver as opposed to someone that they can't really go out and test with?
If that policy holds for a few years, I think what you'll see is that you won't see the Cup teams putting in these extremely young guys in their cars. They're going to wait till they get just a little bit more experience on these racetracks in Nationwide Series cars or trucks before they just bounce them or pop them right in one of these Cup cars.
Yeah, get more experience there and wait until NASCAR either opens this back up or something changes, hopefully as the economy gets better. So could be a ways down the road. I think you're going to see the more experienced guys get the rides.
And that could service the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Guys stay in there longer to get more experience before you jump into the Cup car.
Got a pretty good lap here. He's actually going to lock himself in with this lap.
Nice run by Chad McCumbee there. Not only is 27th quickest, knocks Jimmy Johnson back to 29th. Whoop. They need to be calling him in. He's in the race
they need
anyway.
to call him in. He's good.
Nothing to gain here.
If nobody's called him on the radio to tell him that he's in the race, he still thinks he has to run a faster lap here, and almost
got pretty loose right there.
Yeah. That's why it's important for the guy to be, the crew chief to be on the radio to tell him that, hey, we're in the race.
Yeah.
Don't need to risk it.
Still 4 cars to go, and the slowest right now, the go-homers, is the 13.
Let's see how hard he hit this wall. He's just barely going to touch it, looks like right here. Just a little bit. Didn't even see it. Didn't really even see a mark on the wall, hardly. But, yeah, maybe a little bit.
Just a bit of a love tap there on the 45 car. Still 4 cars to go here at Homestead, Miami. David Ruderman on the pole, and this guy had a great run to be second quickest. And there are some significant surprises here in qualifying for the final race of the year. Right now, David Ruderman would be getting his first career pole. He is the fastest car in qualifying. Scott Speed making only his 5th start ever. in a Cup car on the outside of row 1. And our points leader, Jimmy Johnson, sits 29th right now in the qualifying order. By the way, Carl Edwards, who is chasing Jimmy for the championship, is 4th.
See what Sam Hornish can do here. He was pretty good in the first practice. We saw him a couple times kicking up dust up around the wall, didn't we, Andy?
He was driving hard in practice, trying to find that right line.
He drove it off in there.
See, he's on track here to beat Tony Raines. Oh, that's what we saw.
Oh, the price there.
That's what we saw in practice. He was right up against the wall.
Is that where Michael Walker said the track narrows in a little bit?
Yeah, he said if it had just been a little wider, all he needed was a little wider track.
Yep. This isn't going to be the lap Sam was needing here.
Yeah, he's going to have to run a second lap and make it work.
He is definitely going to have to run a second lap and try to keep it out of the wall.
Great, run another.
Got a 3-point lead here in the Rookie of the Year chase. But Regan Smith, so he definitely needs to get in this race.
Yeah, he's got a better lap now. This one here is so far so good now to try to beat Tony Raines and hold it off this corner.
I don't know, he's headed the wrong way here, so he's not going to beat Tony Raines.
Well, he's got a lot better lap. He needed to run that second lap. It moves him up to 37th. But he's still the slowest. Still the slowest of the go homers.
And only 3 left to go, and all 3 of them are going to have to be slower than Sam Hornish for him to get in the field.
And that's not doesn't look good because Brian Vickers was very fast in practice.
I'll show you what happened to Sam here on lap 1 of qualifying.
He saw this in practice. He was just trying to get a little extra. Just runs out of room. You get up there just a little too far, and on the exit especially, that's where all that sand collects up next to the wall.
Yeah, and as you start running out of banking there and the track flattens out, that's when you find yourself into the wall. And we've seen a number of guys do it right there in that very spot.
Take a moment and check the racetrack here before the final 3 go. Kenny Schrader, Brad Keselowski, and Brian Vickers. Schrader there getting ready to, or hoping to make his 733rd career start. Lots of motorsports to come your way here for the remainder of the weekend. We'll be back here for NASCAR Sprint Cup Happy Hour. How important is that section to Jimmy Johnson? A lot of guys to get their cars dialed in for Sunday. And then we'll crown the champion for the NASCAR Nationwide Series, the Ford 300 at 4 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN2. And then NHRA California qualifying at 11 o'clock Eastern time on Sunday. NASCAR Now. And then live flag-to-flag coverage of the Ford 400 on ABC. And then we'll finish out today with NHRA finals from California at 7 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN2. th start of the year for Kenny Schrader in this Hall of Fame racing Toyota. Best start was 7th and finish was 21st at Bristol back in August.
He's got to get her done here. He's going to make this race.
He's out of the gas a little early there, but picking the throttle back up. He's able to stay in the gas. This might be pretty good down the back straightaway. Yeah.
See, we're comparing his lap to Allman.
Get all you can get. Try to get it on exit.
Coaching there.
He's going to get it. He's coachable.
Yeah, it looks like that coaching's paying off. I think he's going to be
right there at
least fast enough to make the field. I don't believe he's going to lock in on this lap.
And he doesn't beat Allmendinger, but he is right below him at a 31.99.
Just ahead of Max Pappas and Sam Hornish, which that did knock Sam Hornish out of this field.
Still after it on this second lap. You see right now it's a little bit slower. Needs a really good corner right here. You can see it a little lower. I don't believe he's going to gain enough speed back off the corner.
Now it's hold your breath time. Because you got Brad Keselowski and Brian Vickers up.
I saw him over there talking to Brad Keselowski a while ago. Hopefully he didn't give him too many of his secrets around here.
Yeah,
go out here and knock Schrader out of the race.
He's got to beat this car or Brian Vickers to make the field.
Basically, he's got to beat this car. I think Brian Vickers will be pretty good. So Brad has already bounced this thing off the wall one time. And if he's got a shot, this young driver is going to be really good in the future, but he's making only his second NASCAR Sprint Cup start or attempted start.
Yeah, and the tough part is the last lap that he was on the racetrack was when he was into the wall, so not a good memory to have to go off of to go out here and make a fast lap.
I bet these rear wheels will be spinning, though. This guy really wants it.
He's third in the NASCAR Nationwide Series point standings. You'll see him racing here tomorrow. There's Lance McGrew, crew chief for the 25, has a history of doing awfully well with young drivers like Kyle Busch, Ricky Hendrick, and of course Brian Vickers, who was there with Lance.
Going the wrong way. We're comparing his lap to Schrader's lap, and that's who he has to beat. He's got about a tenth and a half, about a tenth of a second now to make up. It's going the right way, getting into 3. Now it's going the wrong way.
So he made a nice run off of turn 4, but not going to quite get there.
That will lock in Schrader if he's not able to pick it up here on the second lap.
The 32.05.
He's got a little better lap going right here.
Could have just been filling it out that first lap for a little bit and realized he had a little more grip.
He's got it going on right here.
This is where he was really strong in that first lap, was getting off of this corner.
He got just a little free on that exit. Has he got enough room?
Going to be close.
He's going to do it. Puts himself in the race right there on that second lap. Great job by Keselowski.
Wow, nice effort.
Got a lot of want to in that car, huh?
Oh, man. That's nothing like youth, you know?
Yep.
Short memory right there, and he probably didn't even think about what had happened on his last lap in practice. He just knew that he had to go out there and drive his car into the race, and he did it.
Now you know what, Dale Earnhardt Jr. chose him, and Rick Hendrick was pretty high on the kid.
So now Ken Schrader has to hold his breath while he watches this car. There's his teammate. That's Brian Vickers' teammate, Scott Speed. He's on the front row. He's second. He's watching our monitor we have down there. He's going to watch the whole lap.
Now remember, Brian Vickers he'd like to be on the pole, but he's got to get this car in the race. So he needs a good solid lap. He can't bounce it off the wall or else he will not qualify.
Well, we're going to compare his lap to the pole sitter, David Rudiman, while Scott Speed watches on.
I heard Brian say that he needed to stay on the bottom of the racetrack, just a little bit safer down there. Couldn't take that chance, and it might hurt his speed just a little bit. Had a good solid lap going so far.
It's a different situation when you have to make the race on time. You can't really just let it hang out.
No, you can't. I'll tell you, it's a totally different mindset when you're in that position. He's going to put himself in the race. There's no doubt about that.
You are in the show.
Yeah, that was Jimmy Elledge, crew chief. He just said you're in the show.
31.77. Nice effort by Brian Vickers.
So the Red Bull guys will get both cars in the show. And that certainly helps that 84 car in terms of trying to get in the top 35 in owners points here before the end of the season.
Yeah, Scott Speed's liking that too. That put Jimmy Johnson back to 30th.
Wow.
And the 3 cars that will not make it are Kenny Schrader, Max Pappas, and the 77 of Sam Hornish Jr.
Scott Speed was not only smiling because he going to qualify second for this race, but he also knows that Brian Vickers has a good chance of driving that thing into the top 35 and get him a spot in the Daytona 500.
He's going to be Brian Vickers' biggest fan on Sunday.
And I tell you who I think should be really smiling is how about a kid from Zephyr Hills, Florida? Well, he's not a kid. He's 38 years old, but he's a kid to us in terms of his NASCAR Sprint Cup career. David Rudiman, in his 63rd career start, is a first-time pole sitter for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Back in just a moment. Qualifying at Homestead, Miami is complete here for the NASCAR Sprint Cup season finale. And what an effort for David Rudiman, his first ever career pole in his 63rd start. Let's go down and visit with the man they nicknamed the Beak.
And I don't know if there's such a thing as a home track advantage, but this guy didn't grow up too far from here. What's this mean to you, getting your first career pole in this series?
Oh, man, it's great. I mean, we've been, I think we were set on the outside pole at Bristol and, came close a couple other times, but it feels really good. I mean, see the 44 up there, and it just shows all the guys at the shop and the guys here on the team they've been working hard all year long and done me a great job. So I'm proud of those guys, and now we just have to work on it for the race, and hopefully we'll be good for that one too.
What were the moments like as you watched competitor after competitor try to knock your lap off?
I mean, it's just nerve-wracking. You know, you're waiting for, because when I went out, the cloud cover came up a little bit and helped us out some, and so you're just waiting for the clouds to come back around and help somebody else. And I've had it happen before where it's worked for us, and sometimes it works against you. So today it worked for us. So thank the Lord for that, because it feels good to get a pole, first pole in the Cup Series. So now we need to move on and get some top fives, try to get a win.
And that could be the next step, Doc.
Great effort by him in qualifying, and we'll show you the starting grid. And what a surprise on the front row. David Rudeman on the pole. It's Scott Speed, and it's only his 5th career start outside of row 1.
And the big surprise, too, is Matt Kenseth qualifying 3rd, and Carl Edwards right outside of him in that row 2.
I'd say Carl's got to like his chances of getting up there and leading a lap early in this race.
Juan Pablo Montoya, very good at this racetrack. Tony Stewart making his last run for Joe Gibbs Racing there inside of row 7.
And Brian Vickers getting the 84 car in. Race start 20th. Nice job by Joe Nemechek there.
Starley Marlin getting the Phoenix Racing car in there for James Finch.
Biffle, the 3-time Homestead winner. Look at Jimmy Johnson, our points leader, outside of row 15th and 30th starting spot.
Got his work cut out for him.
Yeah, won't sleep nearly as good these next couple of nights.
There's Jeff Gordon way back in the 19th row. And Kurt Busch also. Those are 2 surprises that are back in the field.
Final 3 starters: Marcos Ambrose, Michael Waltrip, A.J. Allmendinger. Those that didn't make it again: Ken Schrader, Max Pappas, and the 77 of Sam Hornish Jr. Well, guys, happy hour on tomorrow afternoon. Very important for a lot of drivers, particularly Jimmy Johnson getting his car dialed in.
It will be important to get those cars handling well where you can drive up through traffic. Good thing for Jimmy Johnson, very wide racetrack. You can make a lot of good passes here.
Don't forget 2 championships to be decided here on Saturday and Sunday. NASCAR Nationwide Series Ford 300 Saturday at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. Sunday the Ford 400 at 3 o'clock Eastern Time on ABC. Coming up, Outside the Lines, first report. Once again, congratulations to our pole sitter, first-time pole sitter, David Rudeman here in his native state of Florida. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.